Yes. Okay, hello everyone. We are the Biohacking Blondes. This is Molly Segal here with Alexandra Cochrane, and this is our first podcast. So we are very excited to be here. We have a lot to say about a lot of different things. I'll just start by introducing myself and what I do. So I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and a board certified health coach. I basically look at a series of labs. I run lab work on people. So I look at blood chemistry, stool tests, food sensitivity tests. I look at hormones, the whole gamut. I put together protocols based on those results from those tests. And I do what we call a DRESS protocol. So it's diet, rest, exercise, stress, and supplements. So I'm sort of looking at a holistic way of not treating someone, because that's more what doctors do, but it's more like building up someone's health by looking at all those sort of deficits in their lab results and giving them what they need as far as nutrition, exercise, stress management, which is kind of the biggest one, and then some supplements to sort of fill in all the holes. And then I also just work as a health coach, and Alex and I work together as the Biohacking Blondes, and we do workshops and retreats, all wellness and health oriented. And we sort of talk about what we do, and we love biohacking. We go to lots of retreats and conferences, and we love this whole world of biohacking where we can be a part of a community of other health obsessed individuals. And so yeah, that's what I do. So Alex, you want to talk about what you do too?
Yes, absolutely. I'm Alexandra Cochrane. I'm from Sweden, but I've been here in the US for quite a while. I am a health coach as well. I trained at the same school as Molly, IIN in New York. And I'm also a very passionate biohacker. And then I'm also the founder of my company, which is called ScandiLabs. And it's a health and wellness company. And I got a phenomenal liposomal immune formula plus. That's my first product, which is super successful in helping a lot of people actually staying on top of their immune system. So we got vitamin C, D, K, A, E, and elderberry in there, and that's a great formulation for overall health, but especially for the immune health. And so really good. So the biohacking is definitely both what Molly and I share as a big passion. It's wonderful to be out seeing the newest tools that can upgrade and supercharge our health. And, there are so many things that we can do. And both Molly and I, we feel we have a big obligation to spread this message and our passion to the world. So more and more people get to know this and what they can do, because you know what? I have been there myself. I've been very sick, and no one could really help me. And I wish I knew and had the tools then that I know now what to do. So that's what we're here. We're here to share those things with you guys, and hopefully some laughs as well, between Molly and me talking and all that fun stuff. So yeah, very excited.
Yes, we're super excited. And today we're gonna, first we're gonna just kind of chat about what we do during the week and sort of tell some stories, because we think that you guys would find that interesting. and then we have a topic for the day. So today's topic is there's a Netflix show out there that just is kind of new. It's a documentary. It's kind of a 4-part series called "You Are What You Eat: A Twin Experiment." So we're going to talk about that later. But yeah, so Alex, do you want to talk about like a story from this week that was interesting?
Absolutely. I am looking back in my calendar because it was all a blur. I can't even remember what I did this
Right. Well, that's part of it. This will be good
We're
for us, right? Because it'll be like we can actually remember what we did over the week. It's like a good way of going back and reviewing what we
exactly. There was so much that I did, and I will tell you what I did yesterday, which was really fun. I was down at a phenomenal functional medicine doctor's practice called Tringali in Palm Beach Garden, and I am part of my company. I partner with a company called Red Light Wellness, and they have the best powerful red beds. So it's infrared beds, two spectrums, near infrared light and red light spectrum. And they are super, super good for the mitochondria and supercharging that, creating more ATP. But I was down there at this clinic and I was installing this red bed, or overseeing it to be more clear, because I had hired two Russian guys to come in and help me, because it's a 900-pound bed, right? That needs to go in and being put together.
Yeah.
So I had Sergey and Dimitri came to help me. I was recommended by my friend Debs down at the Outlive Labs in Palm Beach. And these two guys, if you want to have a stereotypical Russian, what you see in front of you, these were the guys, right? So the one is 6'8" and weighs probably, 250 pounds of muscle. Wow. And the other guy, he's a little bit shorter, but he's still, I mean, these guys are strong. So they did the bed, which was really, really great. And, highly recommend them. So that was good. And then afterwards, I started telling you, Molly, on the phone that there is like a little secret right there in Palm Beach Garden. There is the TJ Maxx. If you guys like shopping, I'm not really into shopping, but if there is something kind of on a good price on that, and that is the TJ Maxx. They have almost everything there is the off runway. So
wow.
it's amazing. So you got the best pieces and dresses. I don't know why I'm even telling this, because I don't want everyone to be going there. I want to know about there. But it's amazing. So anyways, yeah, that was a good find. And then also I actually went to Trader Joe's, which we don't have here in Vero Beach. We are in this little hamlet where we need a Trader Joe's. I think they have loads of great healthy options, right, to a good price. Do you agree, Molly?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And Trader Joe's is incredible because they actually have all these kind of off-brand, things that you've never seen before. Whereas like you can go to a Whole Foods or you can go to a Publix and you can kind of see a lot of the same brands, but Trader Joe's does an incredible job. They have like all these like weird brands that I've never seen, or like the Trader Joe's brand. And I'm always like, wow, I haven't seen this combination, or I've never seen this before.
As we speaking, I am drinking a natural mineral water from Gerolsteiner, sparkling mineral water from the Alps of Austria. Germany. And it's fabulous. I've never seen it anywhere else. Gerolsteiner.
Right. We should go in and do some videotaping of all of their products because it's so unique. It's like it's a cool spot to be. And as far as TJ Maxx is concerned, isn't it like, I feel like we have one where we live in Vero, and I don't know if it has like the same level maybe as the Palm Beach one.
Oh, this is Off the Runway. It's called, Molly.
It's called Off the Runway. Oh, got it. Okay.
That's like the brand. So they have everything from the Gucci to the Versace's in there. Wow. Yeah, they got the purses and the glasses. So anyways, a little secret. Molly, over to you. What did you do this week?
Well, so this was more of a typical week for me in terms of I mostly saw clients. I also met with a Quicksilver rep Quicksilver is a big supplement company who also creates Alex's ScandiLabs, which is amazing. They're sort of like what we would think of as like the Mercedes of supplement companies. They do an incredible job. They have an incredible I guess you would call him a scientist, or he's a doctor, but he's also kind of a chemist, Dr. Shade, who runs the company. But anyway, I met with an incredible rep that they have over there, and she and I sort of bonded on, various health issues, and how like she and I were talking about how we're both like in this like 1% of like everyone has, does really well with something, and we're like the 1% that always has a problem with something. So, it's like, I always like to say like I have the rarest blood type. I have an AB negative blood type. And so it's less than 1% of the population that has that blood type. And I've always I felt that way as a human in general. Like
that's why you're so special.
I guess I'm special, but I'm also different, which makes it me in, sort of that realm of I don't react to the same way as other people do to supplements and foods and, lifestyle thing, a lot of lifestyle things, but I think that's why do what I do, right? Because
Percent.
a lot of things that work for other people don't necessarily work for me. And I've had to sort of learn kind of a more like that I'm a more sensitive type. So anyway, she and I were just kind of laughing because she and I had similar experiences. But what's so great about Quicksilver is that, of course, they have, liquid supplements. So you can, if you're sensitive, you can take less, it's kind of like you can titrate up on drops, which is great, as opposed to just doing pills all the time, which for supplements can be tricky because if you just take one and it's too much and you have a reaction, it can be bad, right? So anyway, so that was really cool. She gave me a bunch of great suggestions. They have like a very cool electrolyte product that's in this little glass vial. Have you seen this one?
Quinton, right?
The Quinton, yes. Have you tried it?
I've tried it. Yeah, very salty.
Very salty, yes. It's like almost like pure sodium or
Yes.
something. Um,
Yes.
but it's a very good electrolyte. And she basically says like, oh, if you're going to start anywhere with anything, any Quicksilver product, like those Quintons are like amazing. So I'm like, I'm going to try some and trade out my current electrolytes because I'm always trying new electrolytes. I always run out of them like very quickly. And then I'm always like, well, let's try this one this week. Like,
Hey, you got me onto that one thorn.
yeah, I love the Thorn one. That's great. Before that, I was using Designs for Health. The Thorn one is nice because it has some B vitamins in it too. And then the Quinton has like a mix of things, and it's a little bit, I think, stronger, whereas some of the other ones are a little more diluted. So I'm curious to try their sort of version of an electrolyte, right? So
I
that's
think
been
that's
interesting. Yeah. And then I have a mentor at FDN, and she was like, oh my gosh, you've got to try their CBD product because they have like a CBD supplement that also has curcumin in it. Curcumin in it, sorry. So it's basically like if you have pain, if you have high inflammation, if you have like even if it's like localized pain, like let's say you have like a shoulder injury or joint pain or arthritis, things like that. Like this supplement is like an incredible job. So I'm excited to try that one too.
That's
So
incredible. I just have to tell you, I was in their factory when we were out in Boulder for the conference, the
yeah,
biohacking conference. I was in their factory and I saw how, because one of the really special things with Quicksilver is their particle size. So they're under 100 nanometers and they really pride themselves on that.
yeah.
And I got to see how they measure it with these really, really high-tech, delicate equipment. And they're spinning the formulation. They're showing how it's under that 100 nanometers, where a lot of other liposomes, I'm not going to say any names, but they're thick and gunky, and it really, really affects the absorption into the cells. So that's
Right.
why I'm in love with them, and
Paying
that's
all
why
this
I crave.
right, and
Yeah.
you're paying all this money for these a supplement that isn't really, getting absorbed that well. So,
That's right. Exactly. So I think it's super cool, but that's wonderful that you
yeah,
had that call with them. And yeah, great.
yeah, so
Great.
definitely I'm a practitioner on their site, and I'm going to go through some of they have like a whole practitioner training for their detox protocols, so I'm going to learn some of those.
They're
Um,
great.
yeah, so they've got a great liver cleanse and all these other things.
Yes.
So
I
yeah,
have, but Molly, sorry to chime in again. Can I
go ahead.
just tell you something that push catch detox protocol that they have, Dr. Shade's push catch,
Yes.
that was one of the biggest revelations for me because I got Hashimoto's, the autoimmune, right? Diagnosed 15 years ago. And we lived in London at the time. And the biggest moving of the needle for me was taking that in conjunction with an infrared sauna. I did that for about 4 to 6 weeks.
Mhm.
And my whole world changed because I lived with complete dizzy spells every single day for years and
Yeah.
feeling very anxious and awful, really awful most of the days. No sleep whatsoever, anxiety. I had even panic attack a couple of times. And this was revolutionary for me. And that's how I fell in love with Quicksilver. I mean, this is like 11 years ago or so, and that's their detox protocol.
Yeah.
So,
And I
yeah.
didn't realize too, it's quite simple. It's just the liver supplement and then and a binder.
Then you
So
bind it. You
yeah, I
bind
mean,
it.
obviously they're well-made, complicated products, but as far as like, detoxes can be complicated.
That's
At
right.
least like in FDN, we give kind of more complicated detox protocols, but I love this one because it's like it's really just supporting your liver with some milk thistle and some your liver is kind of your most important organ if I had to like really pick my favorite organ. Like I feel
Right.
like liver really truly it doesn't get talked about very much at all in conventional medicine. But if your liver isn't functioning well, it's really going to cause you a ton of issues. So it's really important to make sure there isn't a backup or a clog in your liver. And, one of the markers on the GI map stool test is beta glucuronidase, which kind of like, if that's very high, we can see that there is like kind of what we call a backup. So almost like if you think of like a line at Disney, you're waiting in line, it's a very long line. That's kind of what your liver looks like. All these toxins are kind of waiting in line to be filtered through the liver. And with that, when that long line is there, it slows down the whole process of the body's detoxification. So, in your case, for example, like you had a ton of like, let's say heavy metals that were all waiting in line to be processed. And then,
And mold as
oh,
well.
yeah,
Yeah, terrible. And
all
I
that.
think a lot of people like they actually have this and they don't know. And that was kind of my intro there, that you must not be stuck feeling sick, because it doesn't have to be that way. And masking the symptoms with prescription drugs is not the way to go, because you're not solving anything. So it's really you want to go to the root cause. And I think that's why Molly does what she does, and then why I'm into this business so much, because that's what it's all about. You can only be fully helped when you know the why, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and you've
Yeah.
got to really build up your body too. Like,
Right.
it's like you're the host of this of the show. And I like to say sometimes like you're the president of this little city of your microbiome, like you're and
Right.
you're in charge of like what happens in there. So if you take an antibiotic, it's a little like dropping a bomb, or if you take another drug, it can be like adding more heavy metals or things like that. And every drug has its place, and we're not totally against and pharmaceutical drugs in general. Obviously, they all have their place. And it depends how sick you are, of course. But there are other ways to go in and change things and to detox things. And like I like to use the analogy of like when you take an antibiotic, it sort of goes in, bombs your whole little city that you're the president of in your stomach, right? Just kills everything, destroys everything. But like when you do a detox, like Dr. Shade's liver cleanse, or like what we use at FDN, we use a lot of biocidin products, which is also a Quicksilver product, by the way. Um,
Right.
and that's more like sending in these kind of herbs that come in, and they're like snipers. It's like sending in SEAL Team 6 to like to like to like sniper out all the bad guys, so you're not destroying the whole city in the process, right? You're just going in, killing the bad guys, saving the children, and leaving. It's like,
Love the analogy. I love it, Molly. You're so
yeah,
good.
it's a more sort of like what you would think of as a more humane way of dealing with issues. And there are all these incredible herbs out there that just aren't really discussed. And
Right.
it would be amazing to talk to Dr. Shade at some point and to just pick his brain about all the different herbs and things that are out
Oh,
there that we don't learn about, like, and
don't
it's
want
kind
that.
of sad. Yeah, like there's a lot of herbs that, like, just for example, milk thistle that's in that liver cleanse. I mean, that goes in and it really just unclogs your liver, which is magical. I mean, it's just a little herb.
Yes.
So
Oh, I know. And they're so powerful. And but that's what they use in Chinese medicine all the time. I mean, there's all these herbs, right?
yep,
So,
yep.
and it's been used for thousands of years and it works. I mean, it works,
It's
right?
it's kind of amazing. It's kind of incredible. But anyway, so that was kind of my week. I can tell a million other stories, I feel like, but I feel like we should keep going. Um, Well, and my daughter had a little bit of she has, I always like to tell, my own personal issues that I'm dealing with during the week because it can help inform other people. And so I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she has this little breakout of molluscum on the back of her legs, which is a little viral rash. And it's a little like a wart, but it's not exactly a wart. It's just a viral bump on the back of her legs. And she has like, they started to like break out in dermatitis all around the virus. And I thought to myself, oh gosh, so we run to the pediatrician and we have them look at it. And then they put on, they tell me to put hydrocortisone on it, which of course makes all the dermatitis go away very quickly, right?
Mhm.
But of course, it isn't what I want to use long term. So when you put hydrocortisone cream on, actually, it can raise the cortisol in your body, which raises blood sugar, which can make you feel more stressed. And it's only a 1% product, but sometimes people are on these creams for a long period of time, and it can cause issues. But I found out after doing some research through FDN and some of my mentors that there are creams out there that have colloidal silver in them that actually are healthy. They don't have the side effects of the hydrocortisone creams. And it's just amazing to me that you can find these other products and they work better because they're not like suppressing the symptoms. They're actually going in and healing. Whereas like hydrocortisone is suppressing the rash and it makes it go away. But once you stop using it, it just comes right back, right? So yeah, so this was like a very cool discovery for me. And we know some people who work in the silver business, right? Like colloidal silver is really an incredible uh like very
Yeah.
very, what's the word, non-harmful way to kill bacteria in your stomach and on your skin and in all these other ways. And we know we have our friend Gary, who we met at Biohacking conference, who has a company that he makes all these silver creams. And I don't know why I didn't even think about that, but but you
Can
run
I?
into these issues.
Yeah. I mean, Molly, can I just tell you, this is the weirdest thing that you're mentioning this, okay?
Oh,
Because last night, Hugh says to me, so I've got a 13 and a 16-year-old. The 13-year-old who is, mad about fishing. He's kind of a little dirtball. He stands in the shower for like 15 minutes and doesn't even use soap or anything. So I'm like, he's like showing me at the side of his chest, like almost towards the back.
uh-huh.
And it's 5 of these bumps that are almost like warts, okay?
Yeah.
Like you're describing.
It must be molluscum. It's going around the school, actually. My daughter tells me that, like, she's like, oh, I was like, does anyone else have this? And she goes, oh, my friends have them on their hands, and my friends have them on their knees and on their arms. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, oh, I didn't know that. But can I tell you what my first line of defense? So he's like, Mom, what can you do? What is it? And I'm like, it's probably just some little, not a big deal. So I went and I got the silver from Gary and
Yeah.
his silver cream, and I put that on there. That was kind of my first thought immediately because silver is so good for everything. I
It is.
gave it to a kid with strep throat. I mean, you used it for your daughter with strep throat.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, yeah, it's really amazing. So
I don't
anyways,
know.
that's
It needs to be talked about more. It really does, because it's so it's so good, like good for you. Like it has no side effects. Like little kids can use it. Like it's very it's just so easy, and it can really help prevent a cold. Like if you just start to feel that little cold in the back of your throat, if you spray silver spray, it kills it on contact, and that's where it replicates. That's where all your cold and flus and strep and all that stuff, it replicates right there in the back of your throat. So if
yeah.
you're able to kill that on contact, you're able to completely.
Immediately stop it.
Mhm.
Yes, I
Absolutely.
do. I gargle with povidone iodine diluted in water. That's what I gargle with, and I think that
Yeah.
works magic. And then I take obviously ScandiLabs immediately when I
Yes.
feel something going on. Just
Yeah.
kind of I do that kind of dual protocol, and then I also have a spray which has povidone iodine and xylitol in it, which is phenomenal as well.
Yep. Yep. So it's like
Stops
that
everything.
1-2 punch. It's like make sure you have the vitamins from what ScandiLabs provides. And then the second thing is to kill it on contact in the back of the throat. And if you're doing that, like that. I can't even tell you like how basic that is. And it's like that gets rid of it. Like you're done. You don't have to worry about getting sick. Like you just have to catch it early, which a lot of people don't catch it right away. But like the minute you feel that little like thing in the back of your
Scratch.
throat, that's when you start going.
Attack.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
call it attack. Immediately attack.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Oh, that's so funny that he has like the bumps too. But so I also have a molluscum specific drop that almost looks like iodine that I got at a pharmacy for that was a $50 product. I'm gonna just say.
Oh,
Whereas
okay. All
like,
right.
hydrocortisone cream or whatever is like $4.99. You can get it at any pharmacy over the counter. And so I got this special molluscum cream that's supposed to get rid of the bumps and it's all herbs, of course, because it's a virus. It's not killed by anything that kills bacteria. So like the silver product is going to help if he gets dermatitis around the bump, but the bump itself has to be killed by some sort of herb, like some weird, some antiviral thing.
What about oregano? Oil of oregano.
Well, that might help too. Yeah, I think there might be some of that in. I should when I'm done with the the molluscum stuff, I'll bring it over and you guys can use some. But
Can't
like,
wait.
but it's strong herbs, and because it just thought it was so interesting that my daughter started to get the dermatitis right around those bumps because she's had the bumps a long time, and her pediatrician told us that, oh, don't worry about the bumps, they'll go away after about 12 to 18 months, which is a long time to have a little virus on you, right? And I was like, I always thought it was weird that we shouldn't treat them. When I Googled it and I looked into FDN protocols, they said, oh, tea tree oil is great. We used that for a while. It didn't really work. But then, I think she's having some sort of reaction to them now. So on top of, the external stuff, like putting some of these molluscum drops and the silver cream,
Yeah.
I have now taken it on. I said, okay, there's some issue with the immune system if the body is getting these too, right?
Mhm.
So I put her on a colostrum, which I use the Mega IgG 2000 supplement, which is just a pure non-dairy colostrum, which is amazing. And that can help, like if you're having any leaky gut issues, it can help seal the wall in your stomach. And that has an effect on your immune system, which her immune system has to just like level up to kill those things, right? That's really the only thing at the end of the day that's going to
Kill
like
it, really.
kill
You
it,
know, I'm
Yeah.
going to throw him in the red bed. He's going to go in
Yeah.
the red bed. I bet that will kill it so quickly. I'm going to keep, we're going to continue talking about this, right? Let's
Yeah.
revisit this
So
after,
good that I brought it up because I was like, there's so many like little issues with kids too that I think are so critical to talk about because even when you go to the pediatrician, you don't always get I don't I go there out of default because I don't know exactly what to do and I also don't know how to diagnose something, right? So I go there typically to get a diagnosis. But then
yeah,
when I go home, I tell myself, okay, how can I help her in the way that makes more sense to me? As opposed to just
exactly.
hydrocortisone cream and just saying, wait a year,
Right.
right, to go away. And
Exactly. Yeah.
so, and then you could go see a pediatric dermatologist, but I honestly don't know what else they would do,
Yeah.
like for it, for a cream and whatnot. But I think it's important for us to share the stuff with kids because I really think there's less out there in terms of like holistic practices that you can use on kids, and a lot of like practitioners and functional medicine doctors, they don't work with kids because there's liability and there's this and that, but there's a lot of like little things that we deal with on a daily basis with kids that I think other moms would appreciate that we can talk about that like are simple fixes to problems like just having a silver cream on hand or
Right.
recognizing like, oh, this is this specific kind of rash, and what to do for different kinds of rashes. Because little kids, like they're outside running around, they're getting, this is Florida. We live like in the jungle. Like they get
Exactly.
bitten by all kinds of creatures and bugs, and they come home with, my daughter comes home with like legs that have like a million bug bites on them sometimes, and I'm like, like
Well,
it's like,
add some like, scratches from fish hooks and like,
Right.
you know,
It's like
fish
yeah,
scales.
it's kind of, it's like a cesspool. They're like
That's what they are. They're dirt
full of
balls.
like bacteria, and how
Oh,
do you want them to be outside obviously and to be experiencing all of that, but then you get a cut and then it gets infected, and then or you get like this virus or whatever that's going around. And so I think it's fun to for us to talk about that for sure.
but it's funny because I mean, you got a girl, and I got two teenage boys, right? I've kind of given up on that side on them. I'm like, okay, they'll be all right. They'll be all right. That's kind of my mentality, which maybe is a little Swedish mentality too. It's like, all right, they'll be fine. He's got a big scrape. Let's just wash it, and he'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, there's little things here and there that, and and like with the molluscum, I felt the same way. I was like, oh, it'll just go away. But then it got worse, right? So it's like,
Right.
okay, now I have to jump in, and now I have to now I have
Exactly. We
to
got to
do
do
something.
something. No,
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
but I do agree there are different approaches and styles to take for sure. I think, it's just so tricky with kids because you're just like, I think they'll be fine. And then, something comes up and da da da. But what I'm gonna do with my daughter is just run a stool test on her, and kind of see, like, because she's having, this breakout of molluscum, like what's going on with her, like, GI immune system. Like, is there something in there that's causing, is there an infection? Is there an issue with her gut? Like, does she have a leaky gut right now? Like, so we're in order to sort of handle this dermatitis issue with the molluscum, we're doing a lot of different like protocols. So I took her off the dairy because like dairy is kind of a big trigger for dermatitis and eczema. A lot of people don't know that. And like myself and her dad have all kinds of like skin issues. So we're both kind of like, okay, we got to kind of cut out the dairy for a little while, see how that helps. Like all these little things you can do to sort of just build up the immune system that will hopefully then get rid of the rash, right? So
Right. Because it's
anyway,
about the immune system being strong, obviously. A little
yeah,
hack. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, people don't realize that a lot of little kids too have eczema and they have rashes, and the parents don't really know what to do. And there's a lot to look at in the GI map, and to look at infections in there and address each infection appropriately. And there's a lot in that biocidin liquid formula that is made by Quicksilver that's very safe to use with kids. So it's like and a lot of people don't realize that, like, oh, you can just do one drop of a day of that. It helps. There's just a bunch of herbs that help move things out of the gut, and then all of a sudden, well, a couple weeks later, they don't have eczema anymore. It's like skin issues are so tricky because we want to treat them topically, but it really is a combination of,
The inside.
yeah,
Right.
the inside and the outside have to be kind of worked with. So,
And what's
um,
crazy when you say that, I mean, I grew up on a bunch of sugar. Like I had cakes for breakfast, basically
mhm.
growing up in Sweden with sugar from my parents, right?
Yeah.
And I had eczema like all up till I was, 20, yeah, 20, like always.
Oh,
I had it all
wow.
the time. And no, they just gave me creams. I remember like hydrocortisone or
Yep.
cortisone cream. Yeah,
Yep.
it's what I got. And my parents would never, ever. I mean, it was candy and cakes every single day. I put it on top of my cereal in the morning, you know. They would come eat up making dinners for me. It was always be hearty dinners. My dad would make Serbian dinner. My mom would make, Norwegian, Swedish dinner for me. And then I ate both the dinners, but it was always surrounded by all these cakes and sweets and ice cream every day, every single day.
Yeah.
So, but this
Well, that's
is
part
this.
of the culture too, right? It was like but also I wonder too the quality of those cakes and things being,
Of
in
course, homemade, always
right.
homemade, right? She always baked, my mom. But yeah, that's interesting too. But it was part of the Swedes apparently eat most sugar of any nation in the world. They
Really? Oh my gosh, how interesting.
they consume so much candy. It's candy, pick and mix candy everywhere. Now with this whole kind of virus, the C virus, yeah. Then they took away those pick and mix candy. But it was everywhere in gas stations, everywhere you went. You could pick that yourself, and
Wow.
combine it into a little bag. So
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, I mean, there's lots of like, I don't mind like a one-off candy situation. I think that that's fun. And like, you have to like live in in society, right? And you and I are fairly strict now, but like well, every other, there's a one-off cake or a treat that I have.
100%. Oh
Yeah.
my God,
Um,
you got to, and you got it. Like it's that balance. If you're too restrictive, it also you restrict your life. I feel you restrict everything becomes too strict, too restrictive, too. Yeah, I don't know. You got certain people that are just I don't know. Everyone is different, I guess, but yeah, I'm into a little bit of balance more.
yeah,
Nothing.
it's like an 80-20 balance for me. I feel like
Yes, yes,
80% of the time I'm doing my best to eat healthy foods. And then I feel like, okay, 20% of the time I'm gonna kind of enjoy myself and not worry too much about this or that.
yes.
Um, I mean, I have a wheat allergy, so there's that problem. So I do have to be somewhat careful with the wheat stuff, because it can affect me. But on a whole, though, I think that little bits of things here and there aren't gonna, destroy it.
Uh,
Upset the apple
uh,
cart. Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's the gluten that I just don't touch, right? Because of the Hashimoto's and dairy. Really, that's those two things I really don't want to touch. Dairy, I do sometimes. That's what I slip on sometimes. But I think Molly, when you and I talk, I think the 80-20, the 20 is still not like we wouldn't sit down. I think I can talk for both of us. We wouldn't sit down and eat a bunch of fried chicken and drinking Coke. You know, I
No,
don't know if we're talking
no.
about that,
Right.
right?
Our 20% is like, oh, a gluten-free like, cake or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
I think and also I mean that's a big topic too, which I think Americans and a lot of people needs to learn is like as if you stay away from the processed stuff, I mean that's what really you should be worried about. It's like my sister-in-law's son, they live up in Connecticut. He is 14 and she says he's checking the back of every food label there is and he's looking for the calories. So he's looking to see how many calories is and everything because he's concerned about maybe being a little heavier than he should be. And I said to Kelsey, my sister-in-law, I said, Kelsey, don't even don't even be concerned about that. Don't look at that. Look at what the ingredients are. And if it's more than 5 ingredients, or if you can't pronounce the ingredients, that's when we put the box back.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be focusing on. I think the calories is it's so old fashioned, to be honest with you. It's about how can we nourish our body, right? How can we nourish the body and the soul with wholesome foods that are not filled with all these artificial colors and words and preservatives that we can't even pronounce.
Well, there's a reason why like the biggest, natural food grocery store is called Whole Foods. Like it literally that what that means and people don't realize what is a whole food. A whole food is just the way it came from nature, right? So that's what you want to be eating. Anything that is a vegetable, a fruit, a proper meat, properly or coming from good sources, organic, this as opposed to foods that are in boxes and bags. And of course, I do eat some of those foods, but in general, you're not going to see a calorie number on a broccoli bag. Like you're not, it's
Right,
like it's like you're not
right.
you don't have to turn the label over on a bag of oranges. Like it's literally just it's an orange, right? So try to stick to the whole foods and you're gonna see so much difference, like movement in weight and movement in the way you feel healthy. It's pretty amazing
Yes.
to switch from processed to whole foods and see the difference. Yeah,
Oh,
for
and
sure.
food can either heal you or it can make you sick. It's one of those two things, right?
Oh yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and this is actually a great transition into what we're supposed to talk about today, which which if Alex and I get talking, forget it. We can never get to the actual topic of the
Oh
day.
my
We have
God,
so
this
many
is
other
too
things
bad.
to discuss,
Oh,
but that's why we're doing a podcast because it's like there's too much to talk about. So basically, it's a good transition because we're talking about whole foods and kind of the like what diets are good and what diets work or don't work, right? So we watched this documentary on Netflix. It's a 4-part series. It's called "You Are What You Eat: A Twin Experiment." And it looks at they follow these 4 sets of twins. They actually more than that in the study. I think they did like 32 sets of twins or something. Um, over the course of 8 weeks, and they sort of went in and set and put one twin on a vegan diet, and they put one twin on an omnivore diet, and then they sort of uh, they did what's called a DEXA scan in the beginning and at the end to sort of show them like, well, what is your body fat percentage now? Like, what is your how much muscle did you gain or lose? Did you lose any weight? And 8 weeks isn't a long time. I mean, that's only 2 months, right? So it's it's not like a long time to make any decisions about anything. But I found a lot of things interesting in this. I thought, well, we can talk a little, let's talk about a little bit about who it's funded by, right? So,
Yes, that's
so
important.
yes, yes. So it was a study out of Stanford University. So uh that right there, the head sort of scientist there, he's a vegan and he kind of promotes or he's part of the Beyond Meat movement, right?
Yep.
Before I go into all of this, like every study is biased. So any
Yeah.
study you read anywhere, someone is trying to prove something and they're going to be looking for what, proving
Supports
they
that.
are right. So what they support, what they already believe, right? So, in watching this, I knew already going in what their goal was, right? Like they want to promote the vegan diet clearly. And I was really interested to see the results and to see, how people change. But it's so interesting because even when you have twins who have the same identical genetics, you still have so many other variables like in their life. Like for example, there's one set of twins, they're very tall, uh,
Cheese
Caucasian
eaters.
guys. Yeah. And they're like, one of them has kids, couldn't exercise as much, like had trouble making his food. The other one was like on top of it, really excited about the study. One wasn't that interested. So right there, you have a problem, right? It's like,
Yeah, right.
yes, you're comparing the two people who have the same genetics, but they have very
Lifestyle.
different lifestyles. So
Exactly.
so it's so hard, even though you're trying to like account for like, oh, this person, we're trying to get them to do this and eat this. And for the first 4 weeks, they put them on a trifecta nutrition diet plan. So every day they had to eat 3 meals from Trifecta Nutrition, which that's just a company out there that does um organic pre-made meals, right? So I've recommended it before. It's a good way to get exact proportions and get exact like percentages of like meat, protein, fat, and carbohydrates into your diet. But they are like pre-made meals. Some are good or some are not that good. I've tried them before. It's like it's a pre-made meal. So you put them in the freezer, you take them out, and you thaw them and nothing quite tastes like a freshly cooked like
But I
broccoli.
guess, but I guess healthier than some of the, frozen stuff that we can buy, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so then, they kind of went forward and looked at uh what were the results, right? And a lot of it was interesting. They said like this one set of twins, they were two African American young men. They were 22 years old. Both of them were very thin to start and they both wanted to like put on muscle. And it just happened actually that their father was like
Bodybuilder.
a bodybuilder, right? Just like kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, basically. Like,
Yeah.
and he had a lot of knowledge about that. So, growing up with a parent who has that much knowledge about, obviously, as a bodybuilder, you have to be very strict with your protein and you don't eat a lot of carbs, right? Um, so anyway, that I thought was interesting because that's another lifestyle component that you're not really factoring in, right?
Oh,
Um, so at the end, what I thought was interesting is that they shared like how those two guys, their muscle improvement, right? So the DEXA scan showed that the guy on the omnivore diet increased his muscle by almost 8%. which in 2 months, which is pretty incredible.
Mhm.
And they both are doing the same workouts in theory, right? And they were doing them together. The vegan, the guy who was on the vegan diet, his muscle percentage only went up by 2%. But they were all excited about this in the film, right? They were like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so excited you put on muscle on a vegan diet. Because most people know, like, if you really want to put on muscle, and every bodybuilder will tell you, like, it has to be a higher protein diet. So they made a big deal about how, wow, oh my God, he's awesome. He made it, he like made muscle on this vegan diet. But like compared to his brother who's on the omnivore diet, that he had an 8% increase in muscle.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so that's like, okay, like
But
I
again, it's all how they angle it, right? It's the angle that they
right,
are putting, they're
right.
highlighting this. Yeah.
And just to like as a devil's advocate, that on the other side of this, they and you and I should also talk about how we eat too, because I think that's interesting to share, so they can see where our biases are, right? um,
Yeah.
but the other interesting thing is they said that in every case of the twins who were on a vegan diet, they showed a decrease in visceral fat. So visceral fat is the fat that's like in your stomach. It's the
Around the
little pooch.
organ.
It's the little pooch around your stomach, and it's kind of like it grows kind of in between the organs, and it's actually the most dangerous kind of fat. So it's kind of like when you think of someone who's more of like an apple shape, where it's like you see a lot of visceral fat and maybe they have skinny legs, or it's like that's where all the fat is accumulating. So that's dangerous, right? Because then that can increase your cholesterol, that can increase all kinds of issues in your health numbers, especially in your blood chemistry, right? So I thought that was an interesting marker to pull out. And obviously they're pulling out all the positives that of the vegan diet, right? They didn't want to highlight the fact that the omnivore had a better muscle mass, but they did, but I did think it was interesting that the visceral fat went down. And I was asking myself, like, why would that be? Right? Why is it that the vegan diet brings down your visceral fat? And I think like as I was thinking about it, I don't know the exact answer, but if I had to guess, I would say it's just that they're eating more fiber, right? Like they're basically eating like more vegetables, more veggie carbohydrates, right? And that just means they're eating a lot more fiber on a daily basis. And
Yeah.
that
That will do.
fiber helps clean you out, it helps you go to the bathroom. It helps you, low
And
fiber diets are very like that's very much a problem in the standard American diet because you can't move food out of your body. You need fiber to poop, right?
yep.
So
Yep.
I think honestly that's it. But you know, from my perspective, like I was a vegetarian from the ages of 12 until like maybe 26. And I was even a vegetarian when I was pregnant with my daughter. And even though that's not the diet I would recommend now, I feel like when I was a vegetarian, I actually felt good personally.
Yes.
Yeah, and I didn't miss meat. I personally I don't love the taste of meat, to be honest. And all meat. I kind of like it makes me kind of for a long time I've been like, ugh, I just don't love it. And I teach metabolic typing through FDN, and they teach us in our training about metabolic types and all these different types. And there's a slow oxidizer, uh, and a fast oxidizer, and those are like your two ends of the spectrum. So there are people in the world who do better eating a higher percentage of like vegetable carbohydrates compared to protein. And I happen to be one of those people. So when I'm on like a vegetarian diet, I actually do quite well on it, right?
Why
Um,
do you not go back on it?
Well, for me, I think a little bit of protein is important for brain health, for especially for getting your B vitamins. Partially because B vitamins help make up the amino acids in your body, and then which also inform your neurotransmitters, and they can make serotonin and dopamine. So I do think that if you're on a vegan diet for a long time, you're going to lose a lot of those important B vitamins, unless, of course, you're like heavily supplementing. So
You so with the vegan diet, you feel it's hard to get the same protein and nutrients, yeah?
yes, I do. And you know, I think when you go on a vegan diet for a short period of time, a lot of people feel better in the
Yeah.
short term because they're eating a ton of vegetables and they're crowding out all the bad stuff. They're not eating the processed foods as much. They're not eating the meat, you know, the CAFO meat, right? Like they're not eating all of that, which like 90 they said something like 96% of meat is actually the bad meat, the CAFO meat, not the grass-fed meat, not the like you know, pastured, happy farmed cattle. It's all the bad stuff. So in that sense, you're leaving out a lot of that, which is good in a lot of ways, but then you're also not getting those B vitamins. So over time, the vegan diet starts to look bad. So a 2-month experiment that these people are doing, I think is not really enough time to
Fair
really
enough.
go. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
What,
my take on this, sorry, go ahead.
no, I said, what did you think? That's, you go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my take on it is I watched 3 episodes and then I got so irritated that I didn't watch the last one.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to get to it, but I was so annoyed because it's obviously, I'm all about, treating, the animal kingdom in a nice way. But why don't we talk about how we can do it, because it is being done, for example, with the fisheries, that they have them. So they were showing these terrible, awful farming of the fishes, right? But there are ones that are doing a really good job of, less fish, and they farm it in a good way, right? Let's show that rather than just totally saying, it's bad. Fish is bad now, right? We can't have that. We shouldn't eat all the meat for the gases, and it's all bad. We should all be vegans, is what they want to lead us to. And it's also, the whole climate change talk. Yeah. So I got super irritated, and I couldn't get myself to finish it, to be honest. So
Yeah.
now I probably will finish it just to see what the outcome was, where you were talking about, like what actually happened. But knowing that what you started with saying, all these studies are funded by people that have motives and angles. And this is Stanford being, they want us all to be vegans, basically. And it has to do with climate change too. And it irritates me. So, I was so
Yeah.
annoyed.
Yeah.
So
I hear
that's
it.
where I am. That's where I am with it. And, I set off being positive, but yeah, it became too irritating. It became too obvious for me.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
hear you. It did have some good, it did bring up regenerative farming. So there was a pasture raised beef owner who was in the movie.
in
And
the
which
last episode, right? That I didn't watch.
so I think so. Yeah. He kind of they brought him in and he showed how he did his farm. And they talked to, and this is an important part about because there aren't that many places doing the pasture raised beef, even though that's what you and I go and buy every day. Like
Right.
like
Right.
and you don't eat beef, right?
So I
So
want to eat it, but I can't. I haven't had it for 30 years.
I
So,
know. And so tell me why that is. What is the reason?
well, yeah, it's kind of a ridiculous reason. I was an exchange student in America. I was out in San Francisco, and I lived with this family. They were Mormons, 3 boys and a daughter. The daughter was a year older than me. So I was a junior in high school. She was a senior, and she was drop dead gorgeous. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was a little kind of, not pudgy, but a little kind of rounder, let's say. And she was so gorgeous, I remember, that I wanted to be like her. So I started eating the way she did. I started working out the way she did. She was up at 5 a.m. every morning heading to the gym, and I had it with her. And on top of that, she dated this hot surfing dude. He was blonde. He was and I'm like, damn it, I want to be, I want to be like Kate.
Yeah.
So, so of course, Kate, she ate chicken and fish, but she didn't eat meat. So I'm like, I'm going to be like her. I'm going to do everything like her. So I stopped eating meat. I was 17 years old and I never started after that. I lost a bunch of weight, not because of that, obviously. It was because I exercised, right? And cleaned out my diet. But I thought meat was a big part. You shouldn't eat meat. And then I never started again, actually, until a month ago. Molly and I, we were in Miami having dinner and there was a hummus that, and it was a dark restaurant, right? It was a
Very
hummus.
dark inside.
And I'm like, I'm
Restaurant.
taking this, yeah, I'm taking this hummus on my plate, and I start like there's something on top of it. It's black, yeah, and I'm chewing it. And oh, these are nice olives. So maybe are they dried raisins, maybe, or
Or
some
tomatoes. Like, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Or Saturday. Well, what is this? But I didn't really care because it tasted really good, and I was sure it was obviously, nothing meaty. Of course, you don't put that on top of a hummus. Finally, I asked the waiter, "Can I have a menu?" And I'd just been eating beef fillets of beef on top of this hummus that were marinated. So, anyways, Molly, that was me 6 weeks ago having meat for the first time in 30 years. And strangely enough, I was not even sick from it, which was strange.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah. So like, and did you feel like you would get sick? And by the way, when you say meat, you mean red meat, right?
I mean, red meat. I eat chicken and fish.
Yes, exactly. So I just wanted to clear that up because some people think meat is like all meat.
Right. No, I
So
want to eat more. I want to eat. I think meat will be really good for me. I think it'll be really good. I'm Swedish. I'm a Viking. I come from that. I should be eating some meat. But obviously, again, good, grass fed, grass finished, right? That's
yeah,
what we're talking about. Good quality meat.
yes. And so I, as a practitioner, I would say like I look at a lot of women's, blood tests and their blood chemistry, and a lot of women are low in iron, right? So
Yes.
iron, and a lot of us are low in iron because we have a menstrual period, right? And we lose blood every month, and that can sometimes be a contributing factor to someone being anemic, especially if you have a very heavy menstrual flow, right? Um, and so so the best way to get like good quality iron and to boost that score on your blood test so you're not anemic is to eat red meat. So
Right.
that's a great way. And I think it's a little bit harder with just eating vegan sources in order to boost that. You would have to supplement, right?
With
Um,
vitamin C as well. You should have C with the iron together.
yes,
Vitamin C is important, right, for to absorption of the iron.
exactly. Yes, exactly. And actually, interestingly enough, and I just had a meeting with a mentor at FDN about this, and I said to him, I said, every blood test I get back that from men, and I have like a number of male clients who do blood chemistry with me, I said they're all so high in iron. Like men in general have this like really high iron. And I'm like, and every woman I look at is anemic.
As
Like
well.
so
But having high is bad too. That's why they recommend men to have blood, to give blood.
exactly, exactly. So men don't obviously have a menstrual period, so they're not losing blood every month the way we are, right? So they hold on to it more. And also when in a lot of foods in America, they're fortified with iron. So like I don't know if you've ever seen that video where like, they take a cereal out and they crunch it up on the table, and then you take a magnet and you put the magnet over the cereal and you'll pull up all this iron,
Is
right?
that right?
Iron is a
Wow.
heavy metal, and
Right.
it's considered toxic if you have too much in your system. So men are actually encouraged, especially in my FDN community, we encourage men to go donate blood in order to bring down their high iron.
Oh,
So,
right.
yeah, and in the past, we always say, oh, 100 years ago, people were so stupid. They did bloodletting and they did leeches, and there was like
A reason.
a reason for that, right? And it was because the iron's so high in the blood, when iron is high in the blood, it oxidizes, right? So it causes effectively like a rusting of the inside of your body. So if you think about, like, I live by the ocean, right? We both live by the ocean. If you put anything metal outside where we live,
Oh,
it will rust in less than a week, right? It would
Right.
be a totally different, I have an air conditioning unit that was outside and I didn't put a wall around it. And within 3 years, I had an air conditioning unit that looked like you pulled it out of the Titanic. Like, like it literally looked like, I mean, it was completely, it had eaten itself. It was, and it's metal and it just started to oxidize completely with the ocean air. So that is what's happening inside your body if you have too much iron, right? So, you got to be careful. And women, it's this weird irony, right? Because men have too much iron and women don't have enough iron. So
Right.
I wish we could somehow
Change.
combine the two.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
but men do have to donate blood if that comes up really high on their score, because that will lower the iron. But it's important for women to, I think, have red meat every once in a while just to sort of boost that iron number. And especially when you're on your period, right? So like a lot of times, I don't know how you feel, but on my period, I'm like, whoa, I'm tired. Like I get more exhausted, right? Because you're losing all this blood and you're losing nutrients and you're losing iron. So you could take an iron supplement or you could eat a steak, and preferably, obviously, like a pasture raised steak would be the best option. Um, so that's what's interesting about, this show, because they're just like, oh, it's all bad for you. And like, it's, going to cause heart disease and issues. And you're kind of like, well, the quality of the meat is important. And we do need it for certain things, so it's a tricky one.
But
Uh,
yeah, but you also have to see that it's the big message behind it too is the climate change, right? Because it's the greenhouse gases they're talking about, right? That's their big thing as well. That's why they don't want us to eat meat as well. And they're trying to portray how bad it is, especially because of, you know, you're
right.
polluting
And
what they are.
and what the pasture raised beef farmer said is that if let's say we move the argument that they proposed was, let's say we move all of this cattle onto pasture raised fields and we don't have CAFOs anymore. CAFOs, by the way, for people who don't know, are just the big houses with all these like animals packed in back to back, like literally with feedlots just feeding them. They have no life. It's horrible. They're really horrible. And when as I was watching this show, it really disgusted me. And I know that was
Yeah.
the point of it. And I know I'm supposed to,
Yeah, that was the point of it. They
right.
did it.
And it's true though. Like it really and I've kind of, sometimes I'll have something here or there at a restaurant and it really kind of like brought me back to like, okay, I really want to eat only the good stuff. Like if I'm going to eat
Yeah,
red meat, if I'm going to eat chicken, if I'm going to eat any of those animals, I really want to eat high quality animals who have lived a healthy life and were slaughtered humanely. Like I really do. And I really
I
do agree with that side of it. I know you do too. Uh,
yes.
but what the guy was saying, the pasture raised beef farmer, he was saying, and what the scientist was saying in contrast with it was, he was like, we would have to have so much land space for all of these cattle that it would take away all the rainforest and we would take away all this stuff in order to have these cattle eating, grass. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I don't know. I'm not a politician. I don't know. I don't know
Right.
what the answer is. I really don't. But I just know for myself and for my clients, I'm only going to recommend that they go to that little section in the grocery store that has, grass-fed, pasture-raised beef, because that's a higher quality.
I agree.
And I'm not doing it for climate reasons so much as I am. I think that's a little bit of a confusing and nuanced discussion.
Absolutely.
Right. That
Absolutely.
has more, I think they could have done a whole movie just on that.
Oh,
Of
yeah.
all the different sides. And I would really love to see, like, it's so hard, but like I'm sort of apolitical. Like I don't go in either direction. I would like to make my own decisions and decide what I think is right. And it's so hard to look at these documentaries and say, oh, well, it's just like, I just wish someone would come out with one that was not political.
Well,
That showed
it's all a
every,
message. But
yeah,
but you yeah, but also Netflix. I mean, it's Netflix is kind of you know, a lot of people are boycotting Netflix for that reason, because they're bringing out documentaries and films that are angled in a certain political direction. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah. It's so
So
interesting.
yeah, it's really crazy, and
I know.
that's why it's kind of annoying. I was going to say something when you said that was quite important. Now I totally dropped it. But anyway, I think people are totally tired of listening to our voices. We've been going for like over an hour.
So you're right. But it was a
We can
very interesting show. And I think at least maybe you can tell me like a few things you got out of it, and then we can wrap up. But I think for me, just watching it, it reminded me of like how bad the farming is, which I agree. And I only want to, it just further cemented me in my like, grass-fed pasture raised like world. But it also made me think I really want to eat more vegetables for more fiber, because sometimes I, on a daily basis, I'm like, am I getting all the vegetables that I need? Probably, maybe not. But it just encouraged me not to stop eating meat, but to actually eat more vegetables. So,
That's great. I
right.
love it, Molly. Yeah, that's a very positive angle of looking at it, and I guess I would agree with that. Now I remember what I was going to say. You know, the problem is too that it's quite expensive to, you know, yes, I guess you and we can go and buy this grass fed, grass finished, but the price is a lot higher, and a lot of America can't afford it. And it's the
I
same
agree.
with the organic. So, you know, there is maybe, you know, our friends and stuff, we can afford it, but a lot of America can't. And therefore, you know, they are chosen, or they have to buy this cheaper, which is kind of, it's sad.
Right.
So,
So
you
what
know,
would you recommend then? Would you, if someone was on a specific budget, would you recommend that they be vegan just to avoid
no, no,
CAFOs?
I would not. I would recommend them having quality foods, but eating less. So I think the American standard diet and the American portion sizes is sickening, enormous,
Yeah.
big, crazy. So that's what I would recommend. And my mom, she came from very poor, growing up under the war, and she would always tell me that you can make very healthy foods affordables. You make big stews, for example, and get a piece of meat that is a good quality piece of meat, but you make stews for an entire week. Stuff like that, I think, because again, I think a lot of low income families, they buy a lot of fast food. Also for, you know, convenience, it is cheaper, but you can make good quality stuff, I think. You know, if you do it, but you got to put time into it. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that you can make it last that way too. Like you could get a good quality meat and then make it into a stew for the rest of the week, and you're still getting that high quality protein. And you don't need to eat a lot of it too. That's the thing. It's not like you're
that's
gonna have
exactly
steak.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not this like
So
jumbo sizes, you know, crazy portions. That's what I think we should sway away from. But what you eat is quality. So
yeah, I mean I totally agree. So it's always about the quality, right? At the end of the day.
yes, it is.
But if you don't have the means to go out and find that, like, the second tier of like antibiotic free, that kind of thing, like just kind of like being aware of what you're buying too, I think, and
Where
really reading labels is so
Yeah.
critical.
And the thing is, leave the crap behind. I mean, the amount of money people spend on chips and, you know, these big dunks of Coke and, you know,
Yeah.
all these empty calories that will make you sick. And by the way, you're paying for that later in life. That would be even more expensive, actually.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what does Mark Hyman say? Either pay the farmer or the pharmacist, right?
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. I love that. That's a good ending, actually. I
Yeah,
like
that's a good place to end. But I thought this was great. I think we did I hope you guys enjoyed this. Our first ever podcast. So hopefully like in the next one, maybe we can condense it.
I gotta condense it. Sorry, chewing your ears off, but
But this is why we're doing it, because there's a lot to share, and there's a lot to discuss in this field, and we're just so passionate about sharing our own experiences and
yes,
hoping that we get a
it will
message
help.
out there to people. Yeah, that health is important, and there's lots of different things you can do, So anyway, well, thanks so much for listening, and hope to see you on our next one.
Yay! All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Ciao.